Speaking with John Paul Jones, what got you started playing bass?
My father was a pianist, and we used to go out and gigging. And well, he originally wanted me to take up the saxophone because he said that the bass guitar would be just a passing sort of fad. And he said you should take up the saxophone because you'll never starve, you know, it's one of those. And then so I didn't want to play the saxophone, I wanted to play the bass. And then he found I could play, and so he said, all right, you know, good bass players are hard to come by, so off we went doing sort of weddings and Masonics and the usual runner things.
As a session musician, who all did you play for?
Everybody. In England there's no specialization. So you don't have like a country session players or rock players or pop players. Everybody does everything. And in those days the session scene was very, very large and active. And one would do, I've done, well, like Rolling Stones, Everly Brothers, French rock and roll sessions, German ones, Engelbert, Tom Jones did all his stuff, and everybody. I mean, you just literally, and all in the same day, quite often. Yeah.
How did you get into arranging?
The only real impetus I had for arranging was panic. I put my hand up, you know how it is. Somebody says, can you do any arrangements? Yeah, sure. And then as the session gets closer, you know, you get a book and try and work out what goes where and that sort of thing. And after a couple, you find, you know, you're an arranger. It happens that way for a lot of people, I think.
Tell me about Led Zeppelin's first rehearsal.
We first played together in a small room in Gerrard Street, in a basement room. In what is now Chinatown, and it was just wall-to-wall amplifiers, you know, just Marshalls sort of. And there was a space for the door, and that was it. And literally, it was just everybody looking at each other. Oh, what should we play? And me doing more sessions, didn't know anything at all. So there was an old Yardbirds number called "The Train Kept A-Rolling," which Jimmy said, well, it's just like it's in E, and you go down, down. Right, so 3, 4, 5, and wow, the whole room just exploded, you know. Lots of silly grins and oh yeah, this is it, man, yes. You know, it was pretty bloody obvious actually. it was going to work from the first number.
How did the name Led Zeppelin come about?
The name Led Zeppelin was coined by Keith Moon, which was originally going to be for a band that recorded a thing called Beck's Bolero, which was Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Nicky Hopkins, myself, and Keith Moon. And I think we did a couple of tracks actually. Well, that and the B-side. And then the thought of it all going on the road, I thought, was sort of fairly horrific. There's quite a bunch of characters, as you could probably imagine, and so that never came about. But we remembered the name and asked if we could use it.
What was the stage set like?
As far as structuring the stage stuff was concerned, certain songs wouldn't really change that much, but other songs would really have points where anybody could do anything. We used to call it the band of nods in those days, because you could just one nod and and we could just go play something else, start a blues or start a country piece or start a bit of James Brown or something like that, and then everybody would follow until that idea had run its course, and then off it would go somewhere else. You know, there were several songs that we could do that, we allowed ourselves the space to do, and that was really good, really enjoyable stuff.
Tell me about your keyboard setup.
A nightmare. I had a Hammond organ and a Mellotron. Oh, a Mellotron. You would just approach, there was one song we used to do, the Rain song, which was just start off on guitar, and then the next thing you would hear was strings on the Mellotron. And I used to just approach this thing with the greatest trepidation and fear. So when I put my hands on those keys, what is going to come out? Will it be in anywhere near pitch? Will it be at half speed? Will it be a string sound or a flute sound? Oh, it was I was just, as the thing used to heat, because it was a system of tapes, literally tape loops. And it was all mechanical, and there's plumbing inside of it and everything. And, as the gig would heat up, the tapes would start stretching a bit, and the motors would slip. And, I spent my entire technological career trying to replace the Mellotron. I went all over the world looking for things to replace the Mellotron. And I did, even up as far as 1980, where we actually took a Fairlight on the road.
What was it like being the low-profile member of Led Zeppelin?
The main advantages were that nobody knew what you looked like. If I got to a city, I could just go out and walk and generally see the sights and get around. Whereas Robert is just so recognisable. They found it hard to actually leave the hotel without causing great trails of people. You can't sit in a restaurant or a bar or anything. But I used to get away with. Once I'd slipped the security, especially in later years, just creep out the back door and just get out on the street. So, yes, it had a great advantage for me there, which is how I prefer it.
Why did you start using mobile recording facilities?
Just like the idea of going somewhere to write. It was a focus, really. Somewhere you could go and write, and then when you were ready to record, wheel in a truck and do it that way, rather than be in a place where you write and then go to a place where you record, or being in a place where you record trying to write, which is the worst thing and the most expensive, of course. And studios aren't really that conducive to making music.
Tell me about Led Zeppelin's studio techniques.
We used to try everything. Basically, if you're a guitar, bass and drums band, you've got to come up with something a bit different each time so that all the tracks don't sound the same. We used to have amps everywhere, and in rooms, up stairwells and bathrooms, and outside we recorded, and we worked with good engineers too, who would be prepared to put up with all this stuff. Again, one of the advantages of not working in a recording studio all the time is if you were in an old house, you could find a cupboard that you could stick a guitar amp in. Or in Headley Grange, like the sound which wrote the song, really, of When the Levee Breaks. That whole song just came from the drum sound, because we'd set him up. We were doing another song, and there was a lot of leakage from the drums, so we set him up in another room, in the hall. There's a big stairwell. It's about 30-40 foot high, and there was one mic. There was two mics on the drums, one at 10 foot and I think one at 20 foot. No bass drum mic. They were both above him, up the stairs. One hanging on the first floor and one hanging on the second floor. And that was it. And we just started playing. Jesus, we listened to that sound. And then, I can't remember who started the riff. That's how that song came about. And so, through experimentation.
What do you consider one of the best moments of Led Zeppelin?
The early Boston Tea Party concerts was the biggie, really, for us. Then we really knew it was working. In fact, it was the longest concert we ever did. We played 4.25 hours, I think. Which, with an hour and a half act, is some going, I can tell you. We played 4 nights at the Boston Tea Party, and the last night, I think we did the act twice, and then we did everybody else's act. We did the Beatles songs, and Stones songs, and Who songs, and everything. It was really good. It was really steaming.